Hello everyone and welcome back to the next video on functions. In this particular session, we are going to have a look at local and global variables. As you know, both the calling and the called functions are using their own variables. The existence of these variables is restricted to the calling or the called function. Now this is known as scope of the variable. Based on this scope, the variables can be classified into two types. The first one is called as local variables and the second one is called as global variables. Let us have a look at each one of this in depth. What do you mean by local variables? Variables that are declared inside a function or a block are actually called as local variables and they are said to have local scope. These local variables can only be used within the function or a block in which they are declared. We can use these local variables only in the block or the function in which it is declared and it is actually invalid outside it. Local variables are created when the control reaches the block or function containing the local variables and then they get destroyed after that. Now let us try to understand this concept of local variables with the help of an example. So as usual, I have my online compiler here and then I have int a is equal to 10. So I go and have my function prototype. So without any parameter, returns nothing. And then I'll have my function definition. Okay, now watch out carefully. I have in line number 6 variable a which is initialized to 10 and it belongs to integer data type. And line number 7 will print the value of that particular a which is nothing but 10. Now in line number 8 I am calling a function called as my function. So this is, you all know that line number 8 is actually nothing but a function call. Now the control comes to line number 11 and here in line number 12 I have another variable, actually it is a only, which is initialized to 20. And line number 13 I am trying to print the value of this particular variable a. Now let us see whether this particular program works. So have a look at this. The output is in main a is equal to 10 and in function a equal to 20. Now watch out very carefully. This particular variable a in line number 6 and variable a in line number 12, even though it looks like the same character, that is a, but it has got a different meaning in programming language as far as the variables are concerned. In line number 6, whatever the variable a you see which is initialized to 10, this particular variable a is local to the block. What is that block? That block is nothing but main, and hence the value of this variable a equal to 10 will hold good only for this particular block, which is main block from line number 5 to line number 9. That a has got nothing to do with your another block, what is called as my function. And in the block my function, you have a variable whose value is 20. That means this value of a20 is available only to this particular block, which is from line number 11 to 14. and hence it is called as local variable, meaning the value of such type of variables are not available outside a particular function or outside a particular block. That is what I clearly told. It is invalid outside that particular block. Understand, right? So I reiterate, the local variables are created when the control reaches the block or the function containing the local variables, and then they get destroyed. Now, this is the advantage of local variables. The first one is, the main benefit of local variable is that there is no accidental alteration of the data. The variable is declared inside a block, and this block of code uses the variable and avoids undesirable side effects, right? There is no accidental alteration of the data. So you have seen in that program the value of a, which was 10, was available only to main, and a is equal to 20 was available to the function called as my function. So there was no accidental alteration of the data in that particular program. The second advantage is, local variable consumes memory for a limited amount of the period only when the block containing the variable is executed. Now, apart from advantages, let us also have a quick glance on disadvantages of the local variables. As simple as it is, the scope of the local variable is restricted, which means it forbids the data sharing. You know that, right? The scope of the local variable is restricted means a was 10 in one block and a was 20 in another block. So I cannot access outside it. So it is restricted. And the next and the last disadvantage is, they are not able to retain the data between the calls because, as I told earlier, local variables are generated and removed with each entry and exit from the block. But of course, there is a solution for this where I am able to retain the data, and that is done with the help of what is called as static modifier. Now, this particular static modifier in C language is actually used to retain the values. We are going to have a look at this static modifier in the forthcoming videos, where I am going to explicitly tell you about storage classes. Now, having seen how local variables play a role in C programming language, let us now shift our attention and see the second type of variable, that is called as global variables. Two simple points: they are defined outside all the functions and they can be accessed and modified by any function in the program, right? So watch out this second point, right? They can be accessed and modified by any function in the program. So let us understand this global variable with the help of a code itself. So I'm just going to alter this particular code slightly. So here in line number 4, I am going to declare a variable called as a with value 10. And then I am going to remove line number 6. And I am also going to remove line number 11. Now watch out carefully, correct? Now line number 4, I have int a equal to 10, this one, correct? Now this particular variable a is declared outside the block, outside any block. You see, I have main as a block from line number 5 to 8. I don't have a declared over there. Similarly, in line number 10 to 12, I have a block which is my function. Even in these three lines, I have not declared variable a. On the other hand, I have variable a declared in line number 4, and hence any variable declared outside the block, outside any block as a matter of fact, it is called as a global variable. And the beauty of this global variable is, the global variable is actually declared outside the block, but any block which makes use of that particular global variable, the value of that variable will be available. Now what I mean by that? Look at this. you do not have any variable a in main block, but still line number 7 you're trying to print the value of a, right? Now basically what happens, right, since variable a is not declared in main, the control will branch to the global version of that, and the global version of that is 10, and hence what happens, line number 7 will print 10, and then you're calling a function, my function, control will come to line number 11, and same situation. See, line number 12, you're trying to print the value of variable a, which is not declared inside this particular block. And hence, the control branches to the declaration part outside the block, which is again line number 4. That means both line number 7 and line number 12 will make use of the value of the variable which you have in line number 4, which is nothing but 10. Let us run this particular program. Wow. See here, in main a equal to 10 and in function a equal to 10, right? So that is how global variables are used in C programming language. Let us have a look at advantage and disadvantage of global variables the way we have seen local variables. The first advantage of global variable is they are very useful when you are dealing with several functions in the program manipulating the same data. Second, changes that needed to be applied in the entire program would be easier through implementing a global variable. And third, we can access from anywhere or through any random function of the program. Now look at the disadvantages of global variables. The first one, use of large number of global variables could result in the generation of program errors. The main problem that it causes is the accidental occurrence of the changes due to the disseminated global variables throughout the program. And the third disadvantage, it could also raise the need to conduct code refactoring, which is very extensive process where the entire program code is restructured. Now, having known the concept behind local and global variables, how they are used in the program, disadvantage, $1 million question that comes in mind is, can we declare local and global variables with the same name? Right? I repeat the question, can we declare local and global variables with the same name? Now let us directly go into our editor and try to get the answer for this question. So I have line number 4, int a equal to 10, and then what I do is I'll write it as int a equal to 5 here, right? So line number 4, int a equal to 10 is a global variable, and similarly line number 7, int a equal to 5 is a local variable. Let me also have a local variable in the same name as in line number 13 as 20. Now watch out, I have the same variable called as a, but the values are different. In line number 4, the value of a is 10, which is a global variable. In line number 7, the value of a is 5, which is a local variable for main block. Similarly, in line number 13, value of variable a is 20, which is local for the block my function. So this is what I mean to say, you can have the name of the local variable and the global variable same, right? Now, let us have a look at the output of this particular code. See here, it says in main a equal to 5 and in function a equal to 20. See here, so line number 8 has actually printed the value of a, which is in line number 7. Similarly, line number 14 printed the value of a, which is actually in line number 20. That means what? This a, which is 10 in line number 4, did not play any prominent role in this code. That means what? Even though you can have the variable name same for both local and global variables, keep one thing in mind as a C programmer, that in C programming language, in the presence of the local variable, you cannot print the value of the global variable. That means this particular code will give me the same output if I remove line number 4. Watch out carefully. I'll remove line number 4 and I have only local variables. Let me run the program now. See, I landed up getting the same output. That means this particular code which I had written here did not have any impact on local variables of both the blocks, right? Now, let me have another variation. What I'll do is, here in line number 13, I'll remove line number 13 and I do not have a local variable for the function. Watch out carefully. So this particular code consists of a global variable whose value is 10, a local variable whose value is 5, which is available to main, but I do not have any local variable in the block called as my function. But still, line number 13, I am trying to print the value of a. So what happens is, whenever you are trying to print the value of a variable, it will search for its local existence. If not, it will branch its control to global existence, right? Now, let us see what is the output of this particular code. Watch out carefully, correct? In main, value of a is actually 5. You are getting it is 5 because it is printing the value of the local variable. On the other hand, in line number 13, you are trying to print the value of variable a. Since you do not have local version of the variable a, the control will go to the global version whose value is 10, and then the line number 13 is giving you the output as in function a equal to 10, right? So this is how the presence of global variable has an impact on a particular block which makes use of it. Okay, so this is how the concept of local and global variable works in C. Let us also take a simple example with some manipulations actually, right? So I say int a equal to 5, and then I will say, a equal to a plus 10. And then here also what I'll do is, I'll just say a equal to a plus 10, right? Now, common sense, I don't need to give you much explanation about it. This is the addition of a local variable. This is the addition of the global variable. Got the point? So here local variable is 5. So this addition which makes it 15. So this will print 15. This is a is equal to a plus 10. So this is a global version. So it will say 10 plus 10 as 20. Let us see whether it works now. Yeah, it works. So in main I have a is equal to 15, and in function I have a is equal to 20, right? So this is how basically the local and global variable works in C language, right? So just to give you a small summation, that in presence of local variable, it is not possible to print the value of global variable. However, this particular drawback of local and global variables in C is actually eliminated in in object-based programming language that is called as C++, where in the presence of local variable, you can print the value of the global variable by making use of scope resolution operator. You need not worry about it right now. Later, when you proceed in your education field and you'll end up trying to study C++ with object-oriented concepts, you will understand the concept hidden behind what is called as scope resolution operator. So let me conclude this concept of local and global variables. The local and global variables both are necessary and equally required while writing the program. However, declaring a large number of global variables could be problematic in a massive program, as it may cause unwanted changes to a global variable, and it would become hard to identify that which part of a program made that change. And hence, my small suggestion or request is one should avoid declaring unnecessary global variables. I reiterate, one should avoid declaring unnecessary global variables.